Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Another episode here of Banish the Doubt. I am George McNamara. I haven't made any videos here in the last several days because, given the time of year it is here, allergies are really starting to blossom, if you will, given their allergies. And it certainly affected me in the last few days. I had some laryngitis, so I needed to take it easy. But I'm back now, and I have a really, really important, powerful, very powerful video for you here today. I want to start off with a quote from Carlos Castaneda, and then a secondary quote after that, and really starts to illustrate and underscore the importance of the message and the messaging from myself and others going back millennia, about exactly who it is that we are and just how powerful we actually are, and what minuscule amount of that power that we have within us that we use. So I want to go ahead and start off here with this quote from Carlos, Mr. Castaneda. It says here, you can, in the chairs, okay? If you can read this here, it says, in the universe, in the universe, there is an unmeasurable, indescribable force which those that live of the source, he calls sorcerers, or actually sorcerers, and um, not witches or incantations or hocus pocus. He wasn't talking about that. He was talking about sorcerers. So he says, in the universe, there is an unmeasurable, indescribable force, which those that live of the sorcerers call intention. And that absolutely everything that exists in the entire cosmos is attached to intent by a connecting link. Sorcerers, he says, are not only concerned with understanding and explaining that link, but they are especially concerned with cleansing it of all of the, listen to this, the numbing effects brought about by all of the concerns of living at ordinary levels of consciousness. So this is what I want to talk about in this video and other videos, is that we get caught up in living these ordinary levels of consciousness. Now, what are these ordinary levels, and where do they come from in these ordinary levels of consciousness that we seem to live by? Well, it starts off with this. When we were just a fetus, the third trimester, our brains turned on. And then through the umbilical cord attached to mom, all the energy that mom was living in, whatever her environment was like, all that energy was being transferred down to us through the umbilical cord. At age 0, we emanated, well, actually, we never did, this physical body of ours, okay, this human body, came into a creation, was formed between the fetus and age 0. So this virtual reality suit, if you want to call it, was formed. Okay, age 0. Our brains at this point were in what's called a delta wave state. So think of middle of the night, you're sound asleep, you're in a deep, deep dream. It's why from 0 to age 1, we sleep most of the time, because we are in that type of a brainwave state. Okay. Excuse me. So from 0 to age 2, we were in delta brainwave state. Age 2 to age 7, okay, we are in theta brainwave state. Now, during these years, from 0 to around 7, this is when we are in our imaginative state. This is when boys can take mom's broom out of the closet and it's a horse. They imagine it being a horse. Girls can play tea with their dolls. Their dolls are not their dolls. They're actually whatever the names they give these dolls, right? And they can pour tea into a cup. They imagine it. So this is the imagination state from 0 to 7. But the interesting thing, though, is that the brain, we said turned on, third trimester, but not the full brain, the subconscious brain. So everything that we've learned about living our lives from third trimester to age 7 was downloaded into us like an operating system for your phone, for your computer. These are the foundational, the bedrock of our beliefs and our perceptions and our definitions about who we are. And they came from the people that raised us, our caregivers. They just transferred that energy, that experience to us. All the rules that go along with living in these bodies, these virtual reality suits on this place called Earth. These are the rules. This is how you're supposed to act. How you're supposed to treat other people, treat yourself, your perceptions about who you are in this life that you're here, this environment you're in. Okay, so 95 to 97% of our day is operating out of these sets of beliefs, perceptions, assumptions, and definitions. 95 to 97%. Okay, this is also when the ego is formed. The ego that says, I am what my car is. I am defined by where I live, the people I know. I got a guy, right? I got a friend. Don't worry, I got somebody for you. That's all the ego. I am defined by how many letters follow after my name. This is all this. Here we're operating in this. And then by age 35, we become a memorized set of emotional reactions. Now, reaction versus responding. Reaction is ego. Responding is the awareness. When we respond to something, we're aware, we're in the moment. Why they call first responders and not first reactors, right? So memorize set of emotional reactions, behaviors, and hardwired attitudes, hardwired beliefs, right? So they're already established. So by age 35, all of this is hardwired into us. Our beliefs, our assumptions, and our perceptions about who we are and what this world is. I may have the name wrong, but I believe it was Einstein who said, it's a very simple question to ask yourself. Do you live in a hostile or peaceful environment? Which is it? Pretty simple, right? Either or. So, so now the theta brainwave state is also referred to as the hypnotic brainwave state. This is why we can observe mom and dad. We don't say anything. We don't tell them, hey, at age 2 or age 1, let's say, or 18 months, we don't say to dad, hey, you really shouldn't talk to mom that way, or vice versa, right? This is where we can become a bigot. We never even met anybody of certain skin color or the way their eyes look or what they were formed or what have you, based on how we were raised. So in theta is when we are very, very much, we also establish enculturation, right, within these first 7 years. So think of that. This part of our life, we were like a ball of clay and we were formed. Minds, all that were formed by those before us, by society. and this is why they refer to as TV programming. Okay, so after age 7 to age 12, we go in alpha brainwave state. Alpha is kind of like the couch potato. You're watching TV, but you're vegging out. You're conscious, but you're very slow conscious. From 12 on, beta is where we're at right now. Your beta brainwave state. So beta brainwave state, alpha, theta, delta. So the way that we can cleanse this link, like Carlos Castaneda was talking about, was by recognizing this. And as we go back through our day, we go from beta to alpha, alpha to theta just before we fall asleep, and then delta as we're sound asleep. It's how we talk to ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. What do we say? Okay, I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But just give you an idea. So 5% of our waking day is conscious. This is from age 7 on is when our conscious mind is formed. So it's subconscious, slow conscious, and we're conscious. This represents 5% of our waking day. And this is an illustration. You're driving your car, you're having a conversation with somebody who's not there. Let's say it's a boss or a coworker or a family member that say they said something that triggered you and you're telling them off. But remember, you're driving your car. You're conscious of the conversation. You're there. You're back in that conversation. You're going toe to toe with this person, toe to toe with this person. Who's driving the car? 95 to 97%. Subconscious. A set of programmed, memorized beliefs, assumptions. You can do things, you can close your eyes, well, not driving your car, but close your eyes and tie your shoelaces, right? Why? Because it's programmed within us. Okay, so let me get back to what we talked about earlier. So back in 1918, Max Planck was given the Nobel Prize in physics for his study of the atom. His study of the atom was a reason for the movie The Matrix. And I'll explain that here in a second. So back then he was given the Nobel Prize. And during his speech, this is part of what his speech was, what he said. Back in 1918, he said this. Okay, this is part of what he said in his speech. And by the way, at the time, he and Einstein were considered the greatest scientific minds on the planet. Okay, so they needed cold, hard data. They weren't interested in sorcerers and hocus pocus and all that. They wanted actual hardcore data and proof about his study of the atom. So here's what he said. As a man who has devoted his whole life to the study of atoms and of matter, I can tell you this. As my research of the study of atoms, I can tell you this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists, now listen to this, only by virtue of a force, which brings the particles of an atom to vibration. And ready? And holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume then, now listen to this, okay? This is the most, next to Einstein, the most brilliant scientific mind on the planet, back in 1918, said this. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. This is where we came from. This is who we are. I told you we came into these physical human virtual body, virtual suits. But this, the source energy, God consciousness, is who we are at our core. The other, the ordinary consciousness, is the stuff that was downloaded into us by others who didn't know any better. And in order to truly live our life, it's this understanding and then getting away from these ordinary levels of living at these ordinary levels of consciousness. It's understanding that it's understanding that we take the words ought, should, must, have to. We take these words out of our vocabulary. Okay, right? Here's an exercise. Okay, We don't think about what we ought to do anymore, or what we should do anymore, or what we must do anymore, or we have to do anymore. We take these words out of our vocabulary. We put them on a piece of paper as an example, as exercise, okay? Write them on a piece of paper. Take that piece of paper, look at them, look at these words, and then light the corner of the piece of paper and let it ignite. Let it just burn back to the ashes of where it came from. So you write it down. This is a symbol, allowing the energy, symbolic of allowing the energy that we give these words to just turn back to the dust, back into the ground from which they came. There's a lot of energy behind these words. I ought to do something about that. I should have done this, or I should do this, or we must do this. You must go to school and get good grades, otherwise you're not going to be able to go to college and get a good job, right? The programming. You have to study and get good grades, otherwise you're not going to get, a scholarship to that school or whatever it may be. Again, the programming. Take these words, when we find ourselves saying these words, write them down. Symbolically light that piece of paper on fire and allow the energy just to go back to where it came from. When we are connected to that link, when we're connected to that energy of who we truly are, we start to understand that we need to do nothing. There's nothing for us to do. Okay? Say to ourselves, I need to do nothing. So you do not have to survive. Who told you had to survive? You're part of the consciousness that has always been here and always will be here. Okay? You do not have to make everybody happy. Whoever told you you had to. The programming, right? You do not have to pay your bills. Whoever told you you have to pay your bills? Oh, you don't understand. If I don't pay my bills, and I can't live in this apartment, or I can't, live in this house. I'm going to get kicked out. What I'm saying is start to look at your life not from a ordinary level of consciousness where I'm going with the flow. It's to start to look at it and say, I'm choosing to live my life the way I choose to live my life, and not to be directed by or to go along with the crowd, go along with society, because that's what society says you have to do. Instead of saying, I need to do these things, I choose to do these things. I don't have to do anything. I'm perfect the way I am, the way I was brought into this world. I am a formation of source energy, of God, God consciousness, universal consciousness. I am perfect just the way I am. It's these other perceptions and beliefs and assumptions of who I think I'm supposed to be, that I need to be, right? I need those letters next to my name. I need to live in that house, in that neighborhood. I need to drive that car in order for the ego to feel fulfilled. That others can look at me and look and say, okay, now you're worth something because of I did the things that I needed to do. We don't need to do anything. Your experience is always the effect of where you choose to focus the attention of your consciousness. I'll say it again. Your experiences in your life, up to this moment, right here, listening to me, are always the effect of where you choose to focus the attention of your consciousness. Remember, everything is neutral, and all that arises in your consciousness has no effect upon the truth of your reality. I want to read this again because this is very important to understand and to remind ourselves of this all the time. Remember, everything in this life is neutral. all that arises in our consciousness has no effect upon the truth of who we are, the truth of our reality. This is why Jesus was talking about, and when he was on this planet 2,000 years ago. But who do you say that I am? It is taking your mind off of anything external as some sort of validation for who you are. You are enough just by who you are. It is cleansing that link from who you are to that source energy, God consciousness that we all are, and all have been since I talked about the third trimester when our brains turned on. That link has been covered over and corroded over the years by living ordinary levels of consciousness. We don't ever get anything in this world. We attract it by our energy, by our vibration, by how we feel about ourselves. It's about understanding this truth, understanding who we truly are. And who we are is source, is God. I am God and there is no other. I am source and there is no other. And source or God does not know the way of the word avoidance, deception, manipulation, competition, doesn't understand control, doesn't understand blame or judgment or envy or fear or doubt. Doesn't understand those words, doesn't understand that. Again, that's all the energy that we spoke about a few minutes ago. These are echoes of old patterns, programs that are outgrown. So, in summary, who we are is that source energy, is God consciousness. How we've chosen to this point to live our life is on those ordinary levels of consciousness. This, I hope, was a video that would help to enlighten you to understand it's what we choose to do in each moment. It's the thoughts that we choose to hold on to in each moment that create our life. We are creators. We are creating our world every single moment that we are here on this earth plane. This is a way, a small way, but hopefully a way for us to observe and become aware of just how much that we keep that connection corroded between who we are truly and who we are here living on this earth plane. If you would like any assistance with any of this, you can go to my channel, click on the link. I'd be happy to coach you in understanding any of this. And please feel free to write down in the comment section about how you like this video, anything you feel I could expand on, or maybe if some of the part of it was confusing, maybe some other words that you're thinking about, the energy of getting rid of the energy of some words that you find that you use. A lot of times it's it's unconscious because it's subconscious. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.